think I'll do a video response to the comments on this cult video. I think. Just because there's a lot of crap about me in here. And it seems like just such bullshit. So let's remember the context. 90% of Kent and Nadavid's videos were quotes from David Benatar, I think. Or arguments made in Benatar's book. Now, I made anti-natalism videos before I even heard the word anti-natalism or David Benatar or Schopenhauer. Benatar never consulted me before he wrote his book. His book was written 5 years ago. So yeah, it predates my first YouTube video, but again, it's quite obvious from the video progression that I had no clue he even existed. So these are independently reached philosophical conclusions that are mostly compatible. He didn't emphasize animals. He did mention it in his book. But I think that biological argument is a strong one. He didn't talk about evolution and all the rest of that much either, and I think those are the strong arguments for antinatalism. So we reach the same conclusion. We reach it based on different observations. His focusing on the asymmetry, which is a perfectly reasonable argument. It's an observable fact of your life that your desire to be here is just that, your desire. It doesn't serve a purpose. The non-existents are completely unmissable. Nobody has, in the history of mankind, has been, what, if we add up all the moments that human beings have spent lamenting the absence of Martians and Venetians, what are we talking about, 13 seconds? No substantial amount of human concern has ever been expressed because of the absence of those lives that would have been desirous and wanting to live. So this is a dilemma of our life, is that our desire to be here, our desire to live, is completely of no real merit. Wherein, if we had a desire to stop a rape that was happening in my front yard, and I was to suddenly just drop dead of a heart attack, the merit of my desire that the rape stop, the need for the rape to stop, still exists in the world. And these are not paradoxes of reality, but these are realities of our condition that have substance and meaning. And there's sort of an implication here that yes, you can't be deprived by non-existing. It's a neutral state of no benefit and no loss, which makes it uniquely different. And the fact is that the fact that benefit is capable of being eviscerated in terms of having real value, wherein the value of preventing a harm can endure, is really meaningful as a truth. So anyway, that's the asymmetry argument, basically. I mean, it catches on this fact that our desire to be here is completely a subjective mechanism, that we must exist to manifest this thing called that desire, wherein our need, that need to exist, wherein the need for some harm to be prevented is enduring. It doesn't need witnesses. You don't need, the need for their pain to stop doesn't need a witness, where our need to exist needs us to generate it. It doesn't exist in the world, it exists only in our perception. Alright, I didn't do great with that, but it's good enough. So anyway, that's the substance of his argument. I defended the arguments Benatar made, and I defend the fact that somebody who wrote a book and goes to the trouble should be treated better than this person treated him. And so yeah, I was hostile and I was rude because his videos were rude. They were titled rudely, okay, anti-nihilism and depression. Like I said, I could make arguments, atheism and insipid selfishness. Shall I title 100 or 1,000 videos "Atheism and Insipid Selfishness," and insipid gluttony, insipidly stupid heathens? Shall I do that? Would the atheist community appreciate it if I made 1,000 videos, you know, trying to and I called you some sort of, you know, something comparable to morbid atheists? You know, I'll come up with some other original word. You know, just something like that. Some, you know, hedonistic atheist or something. And I just keep spouting this kind of rhetoric. The hedonistic atheists. And you would feel appropriately treated. You'd feel that that was conducive to constructive argument. You'd feel that that was the appropriate way to debunk a philosophy. I can do it. You know, if that's the tit for tat you want. If you want me to demonstrate by just mimicking his exact demeanor, I could end every video with a thank you, and I won't swear, but I'll just very politely talk about what you know, debaucherous, self-serving, you know, non-philosophy people atheisms are. Oh, I mean, they're quite obviously just running from God because he gave them a spanking, and like little spoiled babies, they're running away from authority because they're afraid of it. They're afraid to grow up and be real human beings. They can't handle the truth. They can't handle ethical reality. Shall I make preaches like that totally manipulative, totally distortive, totally taking advantage of a fringe element of you know, that might exist in the atheist community, like the Amazing Atheist or something? Shall I use him as my platform, my poster child? So like Andy, I'll poster child a philosophy with the idea that, oh yeah, well maybe some depressives might tag along because they just like the anti of it. They just like the fact that it says, yeah, life sucks, but they don't really understand why life sucks. They just know personally it sucks, and so they follow along. And so because that's possible, we're going to label the whole philosophy just some guy whistling for depressives. Right? And so nobody's supposed to find that offensive or obnoxious. And you're saying if I made atheism videos like that, using the Amazing Atheist as an example of atheism, if I did that none of you atheists would be at all offended, that none of you intellectuals would find that a disgusting way to portray atheism. That's not what you would see in that. You wouldn't see those giant steps backwards in terms of destroying any kind of rational conversation about honoring intellectualism or honoring the truth or honoring the integrity of Darwin. If I treated Darwin like this guy treated Benatar, would you appreciate that? If I ripped Darwin, I could rip Darwin a new asshole, just like even Conference Report did. I could talk about Darwin's opinions regarding women and reproduction and different things like that. He said some pretty ignorant and stupid things. Shall I highlight those? Shall I give those attention and say, well, we got to be a little skeptical of this guy, even though the philosophy was basically enumerated by his grandfather anyway? Even though the idea of evolution had occurred to many thousands of other philosophers, yeah, we'll just use Darwin as the poster child, turn him into a neurotic elitist to slander the philosophy. And then all you people will show up and say, great job, Gary. Way to go. That was so cool. Is that what you're going to do? Yeah, I mean, do you promise that's what you're going to do? You're going to reward me with all kinds of accolades because I didn't say you fucking bastard, right? Because I didn't say something like that, and I said thank you at the end of the video. I can slander the fuck out of atheists. Is that the argument? You love slander as long as it's polite? So will you hypocrites show up? Will you please? Just so you're not hypocrites and applaud me? Is that the guarantee I'll get from you? I mean, you people are such a joke. You're so transparent. So let's get to what you've actually done in these videos, arguing against antinatalism. You have argued that harm doesn't exist because the people being harmed die, and therefore the harm ends, and therefore it's all okay. So we could have, like, we could have a throwaway Holocaust Day, couldn't we? Fire up the rebuilt gas chambers over there, and gas a few million people every month just for the fun of it. Because it's only gonna last a day, right? It'll just be Holocaust Day. And, we can be all stoic about it. Like, some people could dress up all morbid and have a little flag and say, oh, what a sad, sad day. And then, some people could have, like, little parades and stuff and say, isn't it cool? Isn't the smoke beautiful? Beauty in the universe. It's just an insipidly silly argument, right? But no, you've all applauded. Why? Because somehow you think this is a counter-argument to antinatalism. Harm doesn't exist. Suffering is subjective. Now, that's argued by Rosebushy in this very video. And one minute he says it's subjective, and the next minute he says, don't force me to get into that dichotomy of objective and subjective. Yet he says there's no pure objectivity. Was there impure objectivity? I mean, what the hell does that mean? It's just so silly. I mean, really, do we really have to argue? And then they bring up a guy who nails, apparently there's some guy who nails his penis to a plank. Well, I bet he does it his own special way, because I guess it's probably a pierced penis. But let's even say he did it, right? There's no way he does it. There's no way he's going to let somebody else decide where to drive those nails in. And if somebody else did decide where to drive those nails in, there's no way he's not going to sit there and suffer. So again, we're just playing games again. Because people pop pimples and endure a little bit of pain for the gain of getting rid of the other pain, that somehow pain is okay. It's subjectively okay because people pop pimples, and it's not fun to pop a pimple, but it's only fun after it's done. So therefore, pain doesn't exist either. It has no meaning that we can declare. I can't declare it as a truth that pain sucks, even though our whole biology is built out of this idea that you avoid it. No, nature has it all wrong because special leprechauns have fooled us, and the world is really completely upside down. And so because these special leprechauns have fooled our perception, no, pain is really gain, and gain is really pain, and so really I shouldn't be antinatalist, I should be totally pro more babies. Because it's an upside down universe, where biological organisms are repulsed by what they enjoy. No, that doesn't make any sense, does it? No, no sense at all. No sense at all. And so these are the premises of logic. We don't have to worry about pain. We don't have to worry about suffering. We don't have to worry about harm, because these things either don't exist or they go away when you're dead. So therefore, it doesn't matter. So as long as you kill the victims of your crime, it's okay. You can rape and pillage as long as you murder. So yeah, so as long as you murder, rape, pillage, and murder, that's okay. Just raping and pillage is no good, because then you leave the victims alive and then they suffer. And they're having harm because they're still alive. So as long as you kill them, it's okay. That's the logic you guys are preaching. That's the logic you're rewarding. And people are supposed to say what to this? I'm supposed to be civil to this argument, this slander, and then he finishes off with this accusation of a cult. Why? Because he says so. Okay, that's no other reason. Okay, no rational reason. So let's just take another word. So you've destroyed harm, you've destroyed suffering, you've destroyed pain, and now you're just taking the word cult and you're just going to turn that into meaningless mush. It just means anybody who doesn't believe what I believe. Anybody who has a dark philosophy, a negative philosophy, a philosophy that might make people accountable for the fact that there's a huge amount of waste in the world. No, that nature might be a little bit stupid. Oh my God, how dare you declare nature a little bit unspecial, right? I mean, isn't it like nature is at least an educable, at least, right? Because it has All right, it has no hope. It has no brain. That's right. So yeah, it doesn't have any hope. It'll never be any smarter. It's dumb forces, people. Oh, I mean, really, wake up and smell the evolution, atheists. Yeah, and that's really the problem here. These are atheists who I could ridicule. I actually could make the videos quite credibly that they are exactly that. They're just running from the morality, the ethical mandates of the Bible. They don't want to do that do unto others as you have them do unto you. They don't want to be dictated to and moralized at. These are just immature children, just ignorant, stupid, selfish little brats who don't like the idea that they have to be responsible and accountable. That's why they've created a world where lying is basically rewarded and almost never punished. It seems quite obvious that that's the world they want. It must be the atheist's fault. What has destroyed the social infrastructure? When did we become debtor nation? Oh, that's right, when those atheists, you know, the growing atheists, we got prayer out of the school. That's what did it. You want me to make videos like that? You know, use incidental, irrelevant connections to sit there and malign people. And that's all this guy did, and you assholes reward him for it. I mean, but really, so let's just take this cult word real quick. All right, now, if somebody wants to accuse me of deceiving somebody, go ahead and make the accusation. If you're willing to put your money behind your big fat accusation mouth, I am always willing at any time to do the polygraph thing. Okay, so you put up the money, I'll I'll triple it, whatever. You put up the money for the test, and you get $10,000 if I lie. All right, there's no lies in this philosophy, and it's quite obvious. The people who have espoused it are people of very high integrity. Which reminds me, I should mention the Mark Twain thing. Yeah, the only reason why Mark Twain later in his life he did do the, I'll have to Google it or something, but there is a few quotes in there about the better never to have been thing. You know, he sort of quite clearly implied that if he had to do it over again, he wouldn't do it. But yeah, whether it was an anti-natalist or not is a whole nother subject. But you can't go based on whether somebody had kids or not and all that kind of stuff. Quite obviously, there's anti-natalists, strong anti-natalists who have had kids. They just didn't really, you know, you have kids when you're young and stupid. But anyway, you know, happens. You know, there's people who would say I'd rather not have reproduced. They might not say I'd rather not have been, but they will say I'd rather not have had kids. It was a mistake. I wasn't ready for it, and I didn't do it right, and I regret doing it. So that's out there as a real phenomenon. So anyway, but we know cults are always essentially sham religions. I mean, there's very few cults that are actually real in the sense that they're usually some guy who wants to get laid or wants to get money, and he takes advantage of a bunch of few, they're usually few in number, of gullible people into a philosophy. Very rarely is any kind of cult philosophy arrived at independently by numerous different people in different locations in the world at the same time. Cult philosophies are usually quite bizarre and eccentric and usually have something to do with the leader being some kind of god or something. So, you know, this is just, like I said, the only reason you can use this word this way is to slander people. That's all it is. You want to call it something else, go ahead and try, but it's quite obvious. And if I use these tactics against the atheist community, if I use the same tactics he's using against anti-natalism as a philosophy, against atheism as a philosophy, you would find it as disgusting as the worst of the religious tactics. It would be as the worst of the apologists. It would be the category this rhetoric would fall into. All right, and if you have any fairness in your frickin' lousy, crappy, shitty brains, and you did a fair analysis, you'd realize that's exactly what you've applauded here. Are tactics that are lower than the worst of religious apologists in terms of distortion and perversion and just grotesque ad hominem attack. I mean, it really is just grotesque. So anyway, so let's read some of this shit. Spot on. We've been calling it a cult for 3 years. Ha 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 ha. A lowly apprentice. Yeah, whatever. Maybe a case of at least I'm not them. Whatever that means. It's ironic I find dealing with morbids so cheering, but there you are. Okay. So, dealing with morbids. So again, so this is how so we should do this to atheists. We'll just call them hedonoids. How's that? Hedonoids. So I'll just tell the religious people, yeah, pick up rhetoric like this. Do this kind of stuff. So call them like hedonoids, debaucheroids, greedonoids, pervertoids, yeah, call them pervertoids, or pervertibids, pervertiids, yeah, pervertites, yeah, because, yeah, atheists are pervert all over the fucking place. They all know child molesters, for Christ's sakes. It's a known fact. They all are. I mean, quite obviously. It's only they're Satan disguised as ministers, right? They're not real ministers. They never believed in God, so they're obviously satanic atheists that molest children in the church. It's obvious. Fuck, you people are so dumb. Yes, maybe. What is intelligence anyway? Entertainment is his most important role, in my opinion. That and providing some people with a purpose in life. Ironic, yes, whatever. Square-facey thing. In my opinion, intelligent people are more susceptible to recruitment. Ironic, no, question mark. Yeah, no, idiotic, no, would be the thing. No, it's not ironic, it's idiotic. That's an idiotic statement. So in this guy's opinion, intelligent people are more susceptible to recruitment. I mean, as a logical theory, as a theory, how could you apply logic to that? How does that make any sense whatsoever? You measure the IQ of the average recruitment into anything, whether it be the military or any cult that's ever existed. They're freaking imbeciles. All right, Jim Jones, the followers were fucking imbeciles. I mean, they were actual imbeciles, like a high amount of actual people who were declared imbecile in school. All right, I mean, they were really dumb people. And you can go with every single cult. I mean, what are you talking? You got IQs well under 100 here, so this is insipid to make statements like this with no data points, no nothing. Just it's my opinion that intelligent people are suckers. I mean, amazing. Amazing how many people are suckered in by his supposed altruism. But yeah, he cares, all right, about something. So this twit for Uranus. So they always got to make more than one comment. Just fluff it up. But again, why is it, so 90% of this guy's videos were about Benatar, and now you're talking about me. This is the cult of Benatar I thought you were talking about. How come you respond to Benatar, you quote Benatar, whole paragraphs of Benatar you quote, and yet when you're going to call it a cult, it's about me? Strange. A cult it is. Well, there we have proof. We have the whatever it is, right? The 14-letter sentence, well, the 12-letter sentence. Thank you. Yeah, of course, those 12-letter sentences always prove a lot of things. Asshole. It sort of says it all, too, doesn't it? Yeah, it sort of says it all. Asshole. Yeah, that sort of says it all. He'll get over it. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but he'll get over it. Oh, so this was somebody making a crack about Gary's going to be all upset. Yeah. Well, here, LOL. Oh, I could literally hear Gary's teeth grinding and hair ripping out from this video. Oh, please. I mean, you know, there's been 100 of these stupid videos. You think this stupid video is going to bother me? No, the whole thing makes me, is just sickening. Okay, that this is what intellectuals waste their time on. That this is what they applaud. This kind of argumentation they'll applaud. Harm doesn't exist because people die and then it's over. Yeah, okay. Brilliant. I mean, it's just such a brilliant theory. The theory of it all doesn't matter because it'll all be in the past someday, and that means it never happened. Great. I mean, man, that sure gets us all out of jail, doesn't it? Jesus Christ. Might you mean Gnostic faith? Well, whatever. I don't know what this is. Interesting, but not having children because that meaning God's redemption will come earlier, whether wacko reason or whatever is to me not really antinatalism, or maybe it is. I don't know. Thanks for the info. Well, whatever. A waste of time. Oh, this idiot knowledge guy is always full of shit. So I'm not going to bother with this. We'll do Rosebush. He's much funnier. Alright, so yeah, this is Rose. We got into this whole argument about suffering, and then he basically had to flip-flop because he got caught. So we'll just read this one. Suffering doesn't exist, divorced from sufferers, as an independent quality that can be totaled up. Suffering doesn't exist, divorced from sufferers. Well, duh. As an independent quality that can be totaled up. I don't even know what that means. Sorry, yeah, no, that didn't even go anywhere. Tip. Don't copy and paste from another person's comments. YouTube automatically flags it as spam. Whatever about that. So it's not suffering. So it's not that suffering is unreal. It's immeasurable, and you cannot make valid arguments on the basis of pretending you can look at the totality of suffering on some such notion. Well, it's not even required to be totaled for David Benatar's asymmetry. But we certainly do know the extremes. Once again, we can have a ton of throw-in-your-face thought experiments where I just say to you, how many of your pleasurable life experiences, okay, would, if you had to, if the deal was, a 6-year-old kid has to go through 2 years of chemotherapy. Now, the deal is that's what's going to be the price of you having your pleasures. Are you still going to buy your pleasures at that 6-year-old's imposition? I mean, I think those simple questions reveal how trivial and superficial our pleasures actually are, that we would forsake all of them, in some cases, very quickly, to preserve the comfort, or at least the non-suffering, of the people we care about. And even people we don't care about. We would sacrifice our pleasures to spare them the harms they endure. Now, you want to say this isn't a real philosophical concept? You want to say this isn't a real thing, a real dilemma for the human psychology to deal with? The fact that this is probably true, that if I actually put this to most people on planet Earth, and I said to them, your child will die this slow, hard, painful way, for you to have your pleasures of your existence, that the parents wouldn't in a minute say, no, I don't want to do that. So rationally, that's the equation. Okay, as a practical fact, because we're rolling this in dice, because we're rolling this in a matter of probabilistic outcomes, where luck is involved, there's no directness. Okay, just like the casinos reap huge profits, and all these people think they're winners, right? How many people have you met who said they win at Las Vegas? Or lottery players who say, oh yeah, I've won a lot of times, and I've won more than I've lost. And yet we see the bags of money, all right, flying out of those institutions. So we know that their testimony can't mean anything to the reality. So again, this is the dilemma we have. You want to say this isn't a real philosophical, problematic, hard to, damn it. This is a problem to be dealt with. And how do you deal with it? Oh, suffering doesn't exist. I mean, just quite amazing. What we can, however, dismiss is a philosophy that bases its conclusions on nebulous notions. So here we go, nebulous notions, right? Like evolution, like the fact that we're only here because a molecule replicated for the sake of replication over and over and over. Just a mechanical process. It happened. Nobody wanted it. Nothing wanted it. Just over and over and over and over and over. And that it did it in an arena where there are no rules. A gladiator war with no rules, no civility, no anything. Okay? Whatever wins, wins. Period. End of sentence. We can see the legacy manifestations of that in this preposterous nationalism and in racism and in this nepotism that has completely corrosively destroyed civility and any kind of any hope of real social progress. And you're going to argue that these are nebulous notions. But anyway, here, let's go further. Such as the amount of suffering in reality, or other such bullshit. So here we go. Yeah, this is Rosebushy again. So here we go. Just negate the fact that we know the suffering exists. We know that's the commodity that goes into this engine of life. That's the payment for it. That's the gasoline, the negative, the thing we have to pay out, all right, to get what the engine's producing. And we know the production is this silly thing where you hold a little flag in your hand and you rah for your home team. We know these silly, eccentric ways we gain our pleasure. And some people become so psychotic in the sense that they can't be satisfied that, even to get the simplest natural releases of gratification, they have to go to foreign countries and dangle themselves from shower curtains. Well, I mean, come on. I mean, you're just being preposterous here to say this isn't a dilemma. All right. So here, more Rosebud. I mean, he just goes on and on. But let's do one more of his. Let's assume that you go into a spiral depression and you end up hating the world and yourself, and you do nothing but mope until the end of your days. Let's assume that I, on the other hand, learn to live without arms. Start using sophisticated voice recognition tools and become productive in a way that satisfies me. I'm still finding living without arms irksome on occasions, but one of us appears to be suffering more than the other. Well, let's also recognize that the only way these people endure these hardships is because they have some excessive desire. I mean, they're running from death, or they're completely excessively underfulfilled that they would pay the price they pay for it. So again, just don't talk that you just magically overcome. You don't magically overcome. If you wear a prosthesis or something like that and you really want to do it right or hard, you'll have to endure infections. You might get horrible sores or some other thing. You might even be risking you might even risk being terminally destroyed by your effort to compensate for your absences. So it won't be fun. It will be like mountain climbing. You might lose a few toes in the process. Now, we can understand that you have to have one crazy-ass desire if you're willing to give up some of your appendages for it. So again, this has to do with people's obsessive behavior. This has to do with, lemmings, okay? Psychotic lemmings, okay? They don't deliberately kill themselves. They go psychotic. They desire the run. They want to get away so fast. They're running from a kind of death so hard, okay, that they'll compromise themselves. They'll compromise their own interests because they're just so obsessed. So again, you don't understand anything about human psychology or animal psychology. Well, obviously you don't understand animal psychology because you eat them, you crazy bastard. So anyway, I don't want to get into a whole just reading Rosebushy comments, but they really are preposterously ignorant. All right, let's just one more. The guy does feel pain. He enjoys it, though. Here we go. See, there's the thing. He's enjoying it, though. No, that's not what. See, you don't even understand sadomasochism. They don't enjoy the pain. They enjoy the release of a pain they already are experiencing. So it's like they already have a toothache, and it's like they jab things into it to try to release the toothache. So the pain hurts, the added pain hurts, but they think it'll free something. Like if you have if an arrow, you're shot with an arrow, it would hurt, and it's going to hurt more to pull the arrow out or to smash it all the way through. But you know that if you do that, okay, you'll be free of it. All right, so that's the again here, this guy just knows nothing about psychology. And yet he talks like this pontificating, arrogant jackass. Doesn't subtract from anything from those who do. Of course not. I will repeat that I never said it does, and I'll repeat that personally experiencing suffering is very real to the person experiencing it. Well, again, that's all that matters here, buddy. Okay, is that it's an experience, right? It's an experience. It doesn't go away. Doesn't do any of this stuff. It's an experience. It's like you hit the number on the cash register, okay, and it goes ding, a bell goes off because there's something been registered, and it's accounted on a strip, and so it doesn't just go away. It's an experience. It's got to be accounted for. You just cannot add up the grand total. Well, you're saying that you can't add up. Yes, subjectively, even intellectually, it's very hard for us to add up the grand total. But as I said, we have clear indications of these value matrices. And if we just do a little bit of deductive work, a little bit of research, we can find out relative values. And again, like I stated, is if I had to gain my gratification at somebody else's expense, if to make my dessert you had to pull the bread off the plate of a hungry child. So to make my dessert, you had to pull a piece of bread off their plate to make my dessert. I would say, no, I don't want the dessert. That's a truth. That's an honest statement. I think most people would concede that's the truth. But that is relative. It's a good metaphor for the circumstance we exist in. Okay? To have your joy riding, to have your pleasure cruising, you will create monsters that won't find it pleasurable. They'll get car sick or boat sick or something else, and they'll be horribly miserable. And that's the price of your joyride. And it's just a joyride. Because again, let's get back to the truth of this thing, which is that you don't need to do any of this stuff for any other reason than you need it. The need is in you. It isn't in the world. It isn't as a fact of reality. It only exists because you create it. Your existence creates all that need. You're just really, really not very smart. For example, nor can one make any objective statements about suffering on the basis of whole philosophy on it. Well, you can't make any objective statements about suffering. So you can't say objectively that all sentient organisms basically function through evolution to find certain sensations repulsive, and they will avoid them with aggressive physical maneuvers because they find them to be discomforting. That's not an objective statement. That's not a truth of our biology. It's not a truth of the reality of the world, that these are decidedly aversive experiences. That's not an objective truth. Then I think if you agree that that's not a truth we can say with authority, that it's beyond a reasonable doubt, has integrity, then I think you're intellectually dishonest and manipulating the truth to serve your own convoluted and weak philosophical notions. Let's do another one for the hell of it. Would you really say? Okay, that's a quote. Don't put words in my mouth. I didn't try to force me. Don't try to force me into objective-subjective dichotomy. So here's a guy who basically said there's no such thing as pure objectivity. He's basically said it's subjective what you feel, and now he says he doesn't want to deal with this dichotomy. So he wants to use it. He wants to use the dichotomy when it's to his advantage, and then when somebody turns it around on him, then he runs away from the dichotomy and basically just says, no, it's I don't know such things. I don't know anything about any kind of objective subject. I don't even know what those words mean. There is no such thing as pure objectivity, whatever that means, right? No such thing as pure objectivity. Says you, right? Where do you get that from? What makes it pure or impure? There's either bias or there's no bias. And if you're saying there's the bias of not believing in the possibility of leprechauns. You're saying that's a bias, that leprechauns have converted evolution upside down and organisms are really running away from things that are fun. I don't think that's reasonable. So there is, it's pure to the only standard we ever have, which is reasonable doubt. And so yeah, it's pure to that standard. Nor will I tolerate you trying to make it sound like I'm trivializing personal experience. Well, God damn it! I mean, you know, could anybody please, could one of you people call him on this crap? He has made hundreds, thousands perhaps, of comments trivializing personal experience, telling people to go kill themselves, I mean, it's just grotesque, gratuitous insults to suffering, and yet he'll sit there and say he's not trivializing. Oh, please. The term just subjective is what you projected onto what I said. No, I'm sorry. That's exactly what you said. Try again? No, he won't have to try again. He can just quote you. So we'll read the previous comment. I wasn't talking about the pain. I was talking about suffering. So here we go again. They make these distinctions between these different kinds of things, and whether you call it painful or unpleasant, tormenting. I mean, it doesn't matter. We know what suffering is basically made out of, and it's made out of some sort of obnoxious sensation, variable to time. When I touch the hot iron, I feel pain. Well, you don't feel it instantly. This pain leads me to withdraw my hand very quickly. Well, like I said, it's, you know, you withdraw your hand based on a reflexive reaction before pain is even acknowledged. Thus, terminating the pain and preventing harm. No, if your finger is burned, the harm will take place maybe even like an hour later when your finger begins to blister and it becomes hypersensitive. Suffering is your subjective experience of pain. Well, whatever. No, suffering we're claiming is something you define as any sentient creature experiencing protracted pain. There's lots of definitions of suffering, but yes, the length of the time and the intensity of the obnoxiousness of the experience is how suffering is qualified, and it happens. Okay, this idea that it's just a subjective experience, well, of course it happens inside an individual, but it's an objectively diagnosable syndrome. We can see it happening, it's happening, we can identify it, we can label it. It's not, I'm not subjectively making it up, my bias isn't making me see what isn't there. We can define and describe what suffering is as an experience. It's an experience, it happens, it's not something illusionary. Oh, damn. There is, by the way, no such thing as objectivity. We said the same thing again. Not in any present sense. Not in the purest sense of the word. Well, again, what is the purest sense of the word? You mean, oh, you mean all knowledge? Yeah, that's right. We don't have all knowledge. And we can't be free of all presumptive bias. So we do have some biases that are presumptive that aren't purely proven. But they're so overwhelmingly reasonably proven, beyond any reasonable doubt, that there cannot be any reasonable argument, except if you're a petty asshole on a comment board supporting narrow, self-serving philosophies. And if you want to hang a whole philosophy on that, nothing less will do. Well, again, no one's hanging a whole philosophy on that. They're hanging the philosophy on the fact that this is all to a reasonable standard of reasonable doubt. So again, you're just so preposterous fail. So anyway, there's a whole bunch of this arguing objectivism, which is sort of a waste of time. Oh, Gabata guy, he's a real idiot too. Oh, their least favorite word. Well, again, so we'll call atheism a cult, right? Especially the beauty in the universe atheists. We can call them a cult so easy. And the ones who do the Gaia thing and stuff, and do the whole... people do seem to have an awful lot of reverence for the DNA molecule, so I think I could certainly describe you as cultish in your preservation of the molecule, and Borg-like in your obedience to what the molecule tells you should do. You can't even figure out how to wear condoms because the molecule owns you so deep and hard. That sounds like a cult to me. I mean, you're worshiping a fucking molecule, and you're not violating the molecule's, you know, bodily fluids. You know, I mean, yeah, you people are a joke. If it walks, quacks, shits, and swims like a duck. So again, although there's no money, no psychological intrigue, no pain, like we're not even having sex with each other, how could this be legitimately called a cult? I mean, it doesn't have any of the really cult kind of style points at all. So yeah, the only reason why it's called a cult is because you people don't have a real argument, so you have to throw slanderous mud. So bravo, Gabota guy, you're just showing yourself to have the zero integrity. That is my accusation you possess. Zero integrity. You're just a hedonistic, selfish asshole looking to self-reward all the other hedonistic, selfish assholes. So if you all sit there and pat each other on the little behind and say, good job, fucker, slandering people, you'll all think you have some integrity. But real intelligence will eventually smell you out and perhaps call you on your bullshit. But real intelligence, where are you going to find that on the internet? Yeah, problem there. You people are so stupid. Oh, okay. Hello, Avid. They are as predictable as they are deluded. This cult of Inmendham. So again, he makes most of his videos about Benatar, but now it's the cult of Inmendham. So, brilliant argument. I have a strategy, a political strategy that works very well. When fighting a hydra, well, that makes sense, I take out its legs first. Well, that makes a lot of sense. I keep the head alive as long as possible. Conversely, I have a reputation as a headhunter when it comes to physical altercations. Oh yeah, I'm sure you're really a man. I am going to pick off the followers one by one. This hydra has weak legs and an empty head. Why not have fun? Well, that's just, Q guy. So this is a guy, right, who, made the videos with the false voices and, all the fucking gimmicks and bullshit, because he can't make a straight up manly argument. Yeah. I mean, just, these guys are like Dr. Strangelove all over the place. Actually, I can see it fine. It's back up. Oh, okay, this was because, one of the comments was taken out. Alright, well, beyond written words, might as well read this brilliant piece of mush. Inmendham is a fucking idiot, and the people who buy his bullshit are even worse idiots. Well, like I said, they don't buy it. It's not for sale. Again, this philosophy has been around a long time, the word antinatalism. I didn't invent antinatalism. I'm an ethicist. But regardless, it's just silly. All the people arguing this can quite competently make their own arguments for why they have this belief system, and I don't have to have anything to do with anything they say. I just happen to have coined a few phrases. Is that a crime? I mean, we're still using natural selection because Darwin said that. Maybe it's not the best way to even say it. Competitive selection, I think, would be a better way to say what happens in evolution. But is there something wrong if people used Darwin's terminology to describe evolution? Does Darwin own evolution? Does he have a copyright on it? I don't think so. Oh, you people are just pathetic. I have to read this rosebushy thing where he's describing history. I used to have a similar kind of grudging respect for Gary until I noticed he can't take advice. Well, why would I take advice from you? Or from anybody else, for that matter. Why? Why would I do that? Advice about what exactly? Oh, you mean advice about the fact that 6 million Jews died in gas chambers? Oh, yeah, no, I didn't take that advice. Yeah, sorry. Prove that 6 million Jews died in gas chambers. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, no, I didn't take your advice on that subject. Make sure that we do point out, though, that I said 6 million Jews did die horribly in concentration camps and through other methods of destruction in World War II. So I'm not denying the Holocaust. I'm denying 6 million people dying in gas chambers through a malicious plan of the Nazis to annihilate Jews. Okay, no matter how well intended it might be. Well, it doesn't, again, why would I take the advice of a asshole who's calling me a Holocaust denier? Yeah, I don't think so, asshole. That's not exactly what I call advice, asshole. I call that an unwarranted, disgusting accusation. If the advice is don't do this, you will just end up hurting yourself. Well, again, whatever. What are you talking about, you lunatic? You wouldn't even have any conversation on YouTube if it wasn't for me. So let's understand the history here. You know, Rosebush came along after me, and I was already pretty well established. And I had conversations with him in videos. I was the one that gave him a voice on YouTube, okay? He was a nothing and a nobody, except I made reply videos to him. And then he decided, when this whole Holocaust bullshit happened, to you know, stick it to Gary. And that was the end of our relationship. I mean, I'd already found him to be kind of batshit crazy. But let's understand, too, he did like a 12-part series proving free will does exist, except you can't prove it does. Yeah, go research it. He did it. So anyway, but much more importantly, Gary works exclusively on common sense. Well, whatever that means. What does that mean? I work exclusively on common sense, when about 90% of what I'm talking about, the average human doesn't commonly even understand or have knowledge of. Yes, but my logic is commonly understood. I use common language. I do that. I don't use little special code words. Common sense is a slut that lets itself be abused by anyone who thinks they have a point to prove. Well, whatever that's a nice little cliche, but it really doesn't mean anything, does it? I mean, what common sense are you arguing with? Huh? I mean, are you going to say like common beliefs? Well, maybe that's troublesome. But common sense? No. I mean, common sense is, you know, if you pour the water down a hill, it'll pour down the hill. Logic is a mule. Treat it with respect and it moves the world for you. Well, again, logic is a mule. So somehow, again, this is like logic should be working for you. No, it should be the other way around. You should be a slave to logic. Okay, logic isn't a mule. Logic should own you. Abuse it and it will kick you in the nuts. Well, again, this isn't an argument. This is just silly talk. It's baby talk. All right. So the Dr. Dissent guy was basically defending me, you know, in that left-handed kind of way, which, you know, I appreciate that he was making the argument. And then Skid Row Radio had a ton of shit with, you know, just about the whole idea that it's not a cult and all that kind of crap. So there's just miles and miles of that. Oh, there's To Be Serious. Well, let's do that one just for fun. Gary does not throw poo and walk away. Well, let's understand that 98% of all my videos are exactly like this. I'm just making an argument. And then when somebody says something disgusting, insulting, grotesquely offensive to my character or the character of the argument I'm making, I will respond with, back it up, asshole, or fuck you, bastard, because it's just a grotesque accusation that has no fucking substance. And so, yeah, when you call somebody, when you imply their beliefs have been corrupted by emotionalism or some other accusation to attack integrity, and you do it with no facts, you just make the accusation, somebody should respond to that hostilely. They shouldn't find that tolerable. But anyway, you are absolutely right. He throws poo and then he gets on Stickam and rants for 7 hours to make sure the poo sticks. So now her argument is that somehow I've had a 7-hour conversation about her. Well, guess what? That's never happened. I don't spend my time in Stickam just going on and on and on about what a big asshole such and such is. So you can't prove that accusation at all. All right? They're taped. They're there. Quote them. Go find the extensive, raggy comments being made in Stickam about people. And go listen to those conversations and see who puts an end to them. See who always says, well, enough of this bullshit. Let's talk about something real. All right? Go ahead and document it. Go ahead and find the real, true context before you lie about other people. And that's all you are. You're, again, lying. Okay? You're a compulsive fucking liar. He uses the same insults for everyone who will not agree with his extremist positions that we need to extinguish all life. Or whether they're extremist or not, whether they're popular or not, is totally irrelevant. Why the fuck would I have any interest in compromise? Okay, I mean, we have a Democratic president called Obama, all right? He's basically Ronald Reagan in blackface. Why should I find that good or compromise or say that's acceptable? Why shouldn't I? Because he's calling himself a Democrat, I should say he's okay? No, I'm going to say fuck that shit. And so, yeah, if you're going to basically compromise the integrity of evolution by pretending that it has special fairies in it, you know, of epigenetic fairies that somehow compensate for all the selfish gene dynamics, yeah, that's not going to work for me. He slurs decent with name calling like stupid liar. Well, I'm just, the truth is you people are ignorant, and the truth is you are liars. I mean, the accusation of cult is nothing better than a lie. I mean, if you can't admit that that's just a lie because there's no evidence of cult, but you shouldn't even be able to say the word liar. I mean, you've been caught in direct lies. You got into an argument about the Holocaust and lied about your grandfather being a Jew. You did that. Is there some other word for it? Oh, I wasn't lying. I was experimenting. Yeah, well, welcome to 1984 doublespeak. Lying is an experiment. Oh, fuck me. Yeah. And he often also ridicules any physical problems they may have, like fat, bald, or ugly. Yeah, well, once the ad hominem, look, if somebody's going to call me a morbid something, then I'm going to call them a child molester. Okay, yeah, that's the way it's going to work. And you know, the physical stuff has always been a part of YouTube. It's, you know, be better if it wasn't, but I get that crap all the time, and so now and then I'm going to take advantage of it. Sorry, okay, but I do get it all the time. You know, so this is just bullshit. You know, you got to be able to take a little, that's a little bit of the heat in the kitchen thing. If you can't take a little of that shit, then you're just in the wrong kitchen. As for his debate with PA, he screams he does not debate. Well, whatever. You can go look at the comments on those debate videos. Most people weren't concerned that anybody was over talking somebody else or somebody wasn't getting a fair chance or any of that kind of crap. They were good conversations. They only got heated when they had to, and I just think it's just idiotic for you to sit there and say they weren't a good example of taking full advantage of this medium. I mean, if you really don't think that me and Professor Anton did a good job of exploring these philosophies and ideas in those debates that we had, then I you know, what happened after those or what happens in other YouTube videos may be not too good. I'm just saying, in those conversations themselves, I think they were fair, they were quick, they were concise, they were on point, they were good conversations, and here you are, wasting time maligning some of the best videos on YouTube in terms of using this medium for conversational argumentation. I mean, really, it was a very good example of this thing working, and here you are dumping and insulting it, ridiculing it, complaining about it. Can you see how preposterous you have become? I mean, really. It's just so bad. Have fun, cult. That's how he ends, you know, conversation with Skid Row. It was just to throw in a few more cult words. Yeah, I love wasting people's time so they have to defend themselves against my silly accusations. Yeah, that's how I love to spend my day. So I'll spend my day this, like I said, I pointed out how easy it is to do. I just keep associating him with child molester. He looks like one, right? I mean, come on, doesn't he look just like one? I mean, really, if you had a picture in your head of child molester, I mean, isn't this the guy? I mean, come on, he fits it to a T. He's great looking child molester, and with his mustache is a little bit, you know, cut on the edges, so you could almost turn him into like a Hitler-esque child molester. So yeah, you could cover lots of cards. You know, you could throw the Goodwin card. You could throw a ton of cards at this guy. Well, I mean, come on, this is just such fucking bullshit. I mean, you people are just pathetic. Pathetic. You're fucking pathetic. So anyway, rolling on the floor laughing. Great cult ponage. Yeah, he called him a cult. Yeah, what a great argument. Holy shit, you sure got him with that one. Oh, fuck. It's just amazing. But anyway, this is enough. Enough of a video. So till next time. Yeah, what's this Machine Ghost guy? He keeps saying this stupid debate in Inmendham, go, go, go. Like, you know, what are we going to debate, really? The non-existence of harm, the invisibility of suffering, the insidiousness of leprechauns who turn the world upside down. I mean, we're not going to debate anything real, like abiogenesis, the function of evolution, the psychology of the human organism. Those aren't the things we're going to be debating. We're going to be debating crap like, well, when was the last time you beat your wife? I mean, that's all this guy does. He makes preposterous accusations, and you're stuck sitting here wasting your time defending yourself against the preposterous accusation. I mean, this is cliche high school internet behavior. I mean, it's just, yeah, make the preposterous accusation and force the other guy to waste his time unraveling the bullshit. I mean, yeah, that's a great debate. Fun, fun, fun for no one. What's the difference between being morbid and sympathetic? Yeah, go ahead. See how long it takes you to figure out how you're going to argue that. How are you going to argue that distinction? What's the difference between morbid and sympathetic? Oh, I think all those sympathetic people are morbid. Oh, and it's just, there's no doubt about it. You know, just the morbid or sympathetic. Yeah, oh, it just seems like those two things are definitely tied together. How are you going to unravel that? You can't escape it. If you're sympathetic, you're a morbid motherfucker. Yeah. How are you going to, you can't unstick that accusation. It's as obvious as homosexuals are child molesters. It's obvious. And atheists are gluttonous, ignorant, hedonistic bastards who shove gerbils up their ass. It's obvious. I'm sure that guy who got fucked by the horse to death, I'm sure he was an atheist. I mean, it's obvious, right? Oh, God. I mean, gee, you people are so stupid.